All right, in this video, we're going to go over quadratic inequalities. This was from the very first page. The first 75% of this lesson is just over quadratic functions, but the last little part that we need to hit are these quadratic inequalities. You're going to solve quadratic inequalities two ways, graphically and analytically. Graphing is really easy. When they use graphing, literally use the graph. It tells me to solve when f of x is greater than 0. This is just another way of saying y, right? So when y is greater than 0. So when I look at my graph, when I look at my coordinate here, my y, your y is greater than 0 above the x-axis. So we are talking about this portion of our graph and this portion of our graph. So write this in interval notation. We have two different sections, so I know I am going to combine them with the u in between. So explain the one on the left and put it on the left, and explain the one on the right and put it on the right. This little portion here, when I go from left to right, we hit an arrow first. So I have negative infinity. And then as I keep going, the last thing that I hit, okay, bad dashes, but is right here when x equals -2. Because this is only greater than and not greater than or equal to, it is not including that -2, and so we will do parentheses. Okay, so now the union and then this portion over here. So as I go from left to right, we have nothing at 0, nothing at 1, but it finally starts right here at 2. Again, it's not included because it's just greater than, not greater than or equal to. And then as you keep going, the last thing you hit is an infinity. And so we will end with an infinity. So now this is saying the exact opposite. Now we want to know when f of x or y is less than or equal to 0. So this is everything below the x-axis. This was everything above. And now this is everything below. So now f of x is less than or equal to 0, or y is less than or equal to 0 for this portion of the graph. Because now all of these y values are less than 0. You've got only one section here, so we only have one answer here. As you go from left to right, my leftmost is right here when x equals 2 or -2. And because it is less than or equal to, you get a bracket. And then it keeps going. And what's the most? It stops right here. And that's when x equals 2. Okay, let's try again. Use the graph. This is the same thing as when y is greater than 0. Y is greater than 0 when this is above the x-axis. Here is everything, or my graph portion above my x-axis. So when you go from left to right, it starts where? Right here at -1, because I'm looking at my x coordinates here. When x is -1, and then it goes to, you've got 0, you've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3, you've got 4, but it does not go past 4. So this is -1 to 4. Why do both of these have parentheses? Because it again says greater than and not greater than or equal to. So now here we're solving when y, or f of x, is less than or equal to 0. When are my y values less than 0? Down here below my x. We have two sections again. So I'm going to have a U in between. This section here, I start with an arrow, and then it goes to 1, -1. The negative infinity to -1. And because it's or equal to, it includes 1. And then this little portion here, it starts at 4 and it ends at the arrow. And so it's going to go from 4 to infinity.